Hey folks, Sihmm here after something of a lengthy absence. I have been playing Mass Effect 3 multiplayer on and off, but I haven't had the time to review, edit, upload videos, unfortunately. Hence the long delay. And also I kind of feel like I don't really have anything to contribute that isn't already on the forums or general knowledge or just more interesting to figure out by oneself. Also, I don't want to give the impression that I'm patronizing people. That is certainly not my intention with my videos, and I hope it doesn't come across that way. But this video is Quarian Female Engineer on Platinum against Collector's Fibrous White. And the reason that I'm uploading this particular Platinum video is because it gets nice and messy. And I do feel that a messy video is potentially more interesting, more entertaining, more didactic than a clean video. Innuendos should not be inserted here. But yes, Quarian Female Engineer is actually one of my favorite Platinum classes at the moment, and she's an interesting class because she's had a lot of bad rep for quite a long time. She's been regarded as one of the weaker classes in the game. Whether that was true or not, the recent patch and balance changes, cumulative balance changes over the months have certainly made her into a strong class, a useful class, and while she's not particularly great at any one thing, she's a good all-rounder. She's very versatile. She can fit into a variety of different team setups. And she's simple-ish to play as well, which helps if you're like me. So yeah, she's definitely become one of my go-to classes for Platinum at the moment. So with this video, I'm just going to explain some of the things that I do on my Quarian Female, how I interpret the class, things that work for me, some tips, tricks, some life lessons, and hopefully that'll be interesting and or helpful. Then I'll let the rest of the video play out, and you can watch it if you're so inclined. So if I was to sum up my playstyle on the QFE, it would be 3 Ds. Detonate, debuff, distract. And yes, it took me roughly 3.5 seconds to think that up. Just noticing on the video here, you can dodge a Praetorian's laser beams of doom just by starting to strafe one direction before he starts casting, then when he finishes, strafe the other direction until he's finished his second cast, then repeat in the opposite direction again. Even off host, that will reliably avoid the damage 90% of the time. Even on a class that can't dodge and doesn't have speed boosts, so yeah. But yes, detonate, debuff, distract sums up her 3 powers. Detonate is incinerate, debuff is cryoblast, and distract is sentry turret. I use active ammo powers on the QFE. Specifically, I use Disruptor ammo. I feel she's weak against shields and she's weak against synthetics, so Disruptor ammo makes up for that. Gives her extra punch against shields. Tech bursts are particularly strong against shields, and it also gives her some extra crowd control against the Geth, which she wouldn't otherwise have. Also means that any enemy which is non-bossy, which is staggerable, the Disruptor ammo procs will crowd control them as well, which is nice. You can of course use incendiary ammo for fire explosions, or you can use cryo ammo for extra cryo explosions, but me, I prefer the Disruptor ammo. And I use Incinerate as my detonator for that Disruptor ammo. So if there's a spawn of enemies, I'll get a few shots off with my gun, trigger the Disruptor effect, and then cast an Incinerate, which I have AoE spec'd to detonate the tech burst, get some AoE damage going, and hopefully if I've got somebody on my team who can detonate a fire explosion, also set up an AoE fire explosion with the Incinerate that I used to detonate the tech burst. After that, here's an interesting thing you can do against collectors. I'm getting the barriers down on these possessed abominations, using cryoblast to freeze them in place, and then headshotting them so that they don't explode and kill my nearby teammates. But yes, normally after I've done my initial tech bursts with Incinerate, I'll swap to cryoblast and use it to debuff, again area of effect, but debuff all the surrounding enemies. I've got my cryoblast spec'd for full damage taken, so both rank 5 and rank 6 will increase the damage that the target takes from all weapons and powers, not just your own, your teammates as well, to the tune of 25% if you've got both, which is a very respectable increase in damage. And of course it stacks with everything else in this game. You'll see it stacking with proxy mine, recon mine, and tactical scan, so we're getting a lot of extra damage when bosses are vulnerable to those effects. But yes, Cryoblast increases the damage they'll take. It'll freeze any unpredicted enemies as well, which can give you some breathing room. And with my spec, it will also double the damage that Incinerate does to the target. So once I've got that initial tech burst off, I'll swap to Cryo, then Incinerate, Cryo, then Incinerate. And I'll be debuffing the targets for my team. I'll be getting more damage out of my own Incinerate. And I'll be getting regular tech explosions as well as hopefully setting up fire explosions for my team to detonate. You can incidentally also set up fire explosions with your sentry turret if you have it spec'd for flamethrower, but it's not reliable. Just because something's getting hit by your flame turret won't necessarily mean it's primed for fire explosion, and it can be a bit tricky to actually hit something with your flame turret in the first place. And I think this is the round where we lose 2 people to Banshee grabs, and then the remaining 2 people, one of whom is myself, die a few times as well. So interesting. Hooray, interesting. And I don't manage to save credit, unfortunately. This poor Volus body lies helplessly on the floor as an eternal monument to my failure. Meanwhile, what was I saying? Yeah, sentry turret can prime fire explosions that you can then detonate with Incinerate, but it's not reliable, unfortunately. I don't get many out of sentry turret myself. Mainly what I use sentry turret for is distracting enemies. It's not a great distraction because it's too weak to survive very long, and some enemies ignore it entirely, but it can just make enemies shoot in a different direction for a few seconds. It can stop, say, a Geth Hunter from running up on you while you're trying to disable a device or whatever. It can be useful as a distraction. I have mine spec'd at rank 4 for damage and health, because I find that if I take the shock evolution, it just doesn't survive long enough. And by the way, general tip for any class that has a light melee, you may have just seen I walked up to that marauder who still has his shields, and I slapped him in the face with my elbow. Revenge is sweet. Slapped him in the face with my elbow, which staggered him, gave me a little bit of time to get my powers and weapon damage out, and this is very messy. To use an ops pack and a missile to save, that was my own stupid fault, unfortunately. But yes, the light melee is a fantastic survival tool, and I highly recommend it for any class that has it. It's very quick, it doesn't need to lock on, it's quick enough that if you're hosting you can often interrupt even a marauder's people's elbow, or a cannibal hug. So light melee, very good. But yes, sentry turret. I do use it as a distraction. I don't have it spec'd for shock because I find it just dies instantly and doesn't shock anything. I have it spec'd for flamethrower as well, and what I'll do is when I'm not using it as a distraction, then I'll plonk it in a choke point and hopefully get some free extra damage on bosses or anything else that runs past. So I don't use it a huge amount, but I always have it down somewhere, either on my flank or wherever the team happens to be hanging out and fighting stuff. So yes, detonate with Incinerate, debuff with Cryoblast, distract with Sentry Turret. And all 3 of those things will increase your general damage done as well. Speaking of damage, the Quarian Female Engineer is not a powerhouse. She has great powers, don't get me wrong, but they don't do enough damage by themselves. In my opinion, anyway. And especially with Cryoblast increasing all the damage that the target takes, I feel she works best with a relatively meaty weapon. You'll see I'm using the Saber 10. I started using the Saber on my Quarian Female when I had it at around about level 6. I did sometimes feel my recharge was a bit slow, but you can always take a power efficiency module if you are using a heavy weapon. I tried her with a bunch of guns. I've tried her with the Claymore, which was a lot of fun, but didn't really synergize with anything she did. tried her with the Talon, which is a very popular choice. It's very light, it does a lot of damage, it's not so great at range, but it is good at applying ammo powers. Paladin is another choice similar to the Talon, better at range, but less raw damage. You can of course stick the kind of go-to damage dealing favorites like the Piranha, the Rieger, the Harrier, whatever your particular favorite gun is, and make it work. And obviously there's the Hurricane if you have it. It's always a good choice for pretty much any class. But yeah, I particularly found the Saber to suit my playstyle. It's accurate, it applies ammo powers well, it does decent damage. This is the requisite Dragoon clusterfuck. Dragoons and Phantoms got us surrounded, and we had a total party kill at some point in the near future. This is despite Credit spamming shield boosts on his Volus friend, by the way. So yeah, we're all getting annoyed about this. But yes, the Saber just transformed the Quarian Female Engineer for me. It made it work. You'll notice I'm also right now using an Acolyte. That's a ultralight pistol materials Acolyte. And it just makes situations like this, when the sort of slow firing single target Saber isn't so great. It's also very, very good against Phantoms specifically, which can be a real pain to kill, particularly on host if you're using an armor piercing weapon due to bugs with the way that she takes damage. I could tell you how like in theory you're supposed to be able to kill a Phantom using power bait and switch and shooting her when she's in her block stance and hitting her with powers when she's doing a flip to avoid your weapons, but quite honestly, don't bother. It's not nearly consistent enough. It's bugged all to hell. Just take an ultralight Acolyte or an ultralight Scorpion and trivialize it. There's no point screwing around, I personally feel. So yeah, with the Saber 10 and the ultralight Acolyte, I am getting 110% recharge, which is more than enough for me. Gets me a nice rhythm of power, shoot, power, reload, power, shoot, etc, etc. But yeah, you really want to take a decent weapon, and a weapon that you're comfortable with. I feel the Saber synergizes with her particularly well, but if you've got it at a low level, then it will be very heavy. Oh, and this was during Halloween, of course, so was the hilarious pumpkin. Ah, so whimsical. It's a pumpkin. Anyway. So, I'm cheating in this game. I'm using a Cyclonic Modulator 4, and credit to team is playing the Volus Engineer, spamming shield boost on us all the time, which is dramatically enhancing my survivability, but I don't generally have trouble surviving on the Quarian Female if I use cover. I mean soft cover intelligently. Use my abilities to stagger or panic enemies, use my turret to distract them. If I'm playing gold games, I normally won't bother with a Cyclonic. I'll maybe take a shield booster just as kind of pity equipment. But pretty much when I'm playing gold, I'll just use like rank 2 Disruptor ammo or something. Platinum though, I prefer not to take chances. Cyclonic really helps. But she'll never be tanky no matter what you do. I only have 4 points in fitness, incidentally. Which I think is enough. I don't really see the need for more. Don't know where I'd find the points anyway. But yes, I'm really rambling on here. In terms of survivability, the main thing I find helpful with her, apart from her active powers, and apart from the light melee trick, is just her dodge. I mean, it almost goes without saying because dodge is so universally useful in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, but the Quarian dodge is a good dodge, and it can get her out of trouble quickly. It doesn't mess up your aim, it doesn't take you too far, it's quick, it does the job, it's fantastic. And incidentally, one specific issue that I sometimes have with power classes is that you can't sprint immediately after firing a power. And I quite often like to be sprinting and fire off a power and then carry on sprinting. But I think just because the game takes a while to realize that you're holding down the sprint key, that's not always possible. So the way I get around this is, if I'm sprinting and I fire off a power, instead of trying to sprint out of the power animation, I will dodge forward out of the power animation. Just tap the spacebar. Which means there's no downtime whatsoever between firing the power and getting into the evasive, speedy dodge forward animation. You'll see me doing it quite a bit in this game, in any game I play with a Quarian female. Just wondering if I'd be able to shoot that abomination in the head. I don't know if it was the one that I shot that exploded or not. Unfortunately, I'm not that great on aim, I have to say, and if I had more skill I would be getting a lot more headshots with the saber. Saber is very accurate if you aim down the sights, or if you fire it from cover, but if you just hip fire it, it's not accurate, which is why you'll see me using the aim down sights nearly all the time, because it really is a bit rubbish in terms of accuracy if you hip fire it. So something to be aware of. But yes, that sprint, firepower, dodge forward, then immediately sprint out of the dodge. I find that, it sounds bizarre to say it, but I find it one of the most useful techniques there is on the Quarian female, just for mobility and survivability, and getting a little bit more damage out when you're trying to evade or travel. So you could always give it a try if you don't already. And that'll work again on any class with powers. It's a useful trick in general. So I was saying at the beginning of the video that the Quarian female synergizes really well with pretty much any team, and the reason for that is that Incinerate is a detonator for anything except a biotic power. So if you've got people using, like Vortius using Flamer, if you've got Quarians throwing arc grenades, or Turians throwing out overloads, or whatever, if you have Paladins and Snap Freeze, Incinerate will detonate all of that stuff. And it'll also set up fire explosions for your team to detonate. And of course Cryoblast is going to be debuffing everything it hits to take 25% more damage, so that benefits every single class in the game. And as I said in this video, we've got several different stacking damage debuffs all working together to... yeah, I'm just getting staggered constantly here by primes and combat drones. Yeah, but stacking damage debuffs mean that we can take a team which maybe isn't the highest damage team in the world. There's no Geth Infiltrators or Destroyers, or nothing that's stereotypically high damage. Az is playing a Salarian Infiltrator, but I don't know if he's damage or duration spec, but he's using a Valiant, so you know he's not going to be doing vast amounts of boss DPS by himself. But it doesn't matter, because we've got all these different damage debuffs coming together and making things die nice and quickly. And again, it encourages team play. It encourages us to stick together. It encourages us to stay near credit with his recon mine and his proxy mine and his constant shield boosts. It encourages us to make use of the area, or the tac scan we're getting, the area recon mine effect. And I find that really fun. I mean, lone wolfing is fun too, but this is a class that naturally encourages and naturally benefits from playing as a team. Which is another reason why I'm so fond of it for Platinum. So anyway, I think I may have finally exhausted all that I have to say on the subject. And as I said, hopefully I haven't sounded too smug or patronizing. This is a class, I should say, that I get wrong a lot. She is pretty simple, but there's a lot of room for finesse, and I often don't take advantage of that as much as I should. So I am by no means the world's best Quarian Female Engineer player, but I mean, she's not difficult to have fun on, and she does work pretty well in pretty much any setup, so yeah, I highly recommend her. Just before I go, I'll talk briefly about my spec, and I have mentioned a few things during the video. I'm 66644, so 4 points in the passive and 4 points in fitness. For the passive I've got weight reduction, and for the fitness I've got health and shields. Just to improve my cooldowns and survivability a bit. Sentry turret, I have health and damage, because as I said, without that I feel it doesn't survive long enough. I have armor damage because I feel the cryo evolution doesn't trigger reliably or often enough. And I have flamethrower because I tend to use it in close quarters, and like the option, the possibility that I might set up a fire explosion as well. Incinerate, I have area effect, I have burning damage, and I have the bonus to damage on chilled and frozen targets, which was fixed in the patch and is now very good. If you're going to be using Cryoblast anyway, there's no reason not to take the chilled and frozen evolution, because you'll do more damage to armored targets with Cryo Incinerate and the chilled spec than you will with Cryo Incinerate and the armor damage spec. Unless you're not using Cryo, but this is obviously a spec that takes a big advantage of Cryo. Cryo, oh, why am I running into a spawn? I think I was going to try and nuke it. Yeah, but then there was like phantoms, and it was like, oh god, phantoms! And, yes. Cryoblast. Radius, damage taken, damage taken. You could go for duration instead of radius. It means you can get 2 incinerates off for each Cryoblast, but I prefer the rhythm that you get from Cryo Incinerate. It's easier to kind of spam mindlessly than Cryo Incinerate, Incinerate, Cryo Incinerate, Incinerate. I also prefer the margin for error if I slightly miss the boss, or if it targets like the mook next to it. I like knowing that my my Cryoblast is going to hit it anyway. So I definitely recommend the AoE evolutions. One final note before I go, I just noticed myself using the Acolyte there again. If you don't have a high level, like ultra rare weapon that's light, like the Wraith or the Saber or the Harrier or whatever, then Acolyte is a really good weapon, eh? I mean, it's almost overpowered good. It staggers, it's AoE, it applies ammo powers really well, it deals with phantoms really well. It's not going to do dramatic DPS against everything, but it's a very, very good solid weapon. So definitely consider it if you haven't got anything else, and if you have got anything else, then consider it as a sidearm anyway. With ultralight materials, it's almost weightless. Anyway, I think I've really run out of things to say this time, so I'll shut up and the rest of the video can continue. So yes, as I said at the beginning, messy video, not the best Quarian Engineer performance you will see by any stretch of the imagination, so enjoy the chaos, and as always, thanks for watching. That was a happy cavalcade of explosions.
Oh, out of ammo.
I stole all the ammo.
Asshole.
Got this, I think. Might be able to get this. If it goes the right way, which I don't think it's going to. Where is it? Nope, it's not. Hold on. Oh, credit. Oh, God. Ultimate indignity.
Going that way? Okay.
I'm going towards the target.
But you're going on the outside.
I'll get it. Oh, what the fuck? Okay, never mind.
Oh, fucking combat
Where
drone, just
mind is.
piss off!
Oh, I got picked up.
Unlocked.
Ah! Oh wait, never mind. I got killed anyway.
Hooray! the Banshee was still going through the animation, though.
Thank you, Metagel Transmitter.
Yeah, I know. Apparently that worked. Get the fuck out of here. Ah, not this way.
Wow.
Oh, and there's a prime object.
Ah! Oh, there's a prime right behind me. I was like, wow, how you've grown, credit.
Exactly.
Seriously though, whose idea was it to give combat going a staggering attack?
Somebody who's masochistic
Biotroll.
or sadistic if he doesn't play the game.
Ah, oh, fucking staggers! Oh joy, Dragoon's on extraction. Ah, fuck off, Dragoons. Thank you, tiny Volus friend.
Sure, possessed.
Well, the one I killed didn't explode. Behind us, Dragoon. Nice shot, as.
Towards the LZ. It's a bad time to be out of ammo.
17. Won't let me. Cocking is an stack. Thank you for this, friend. Oh fuck! Stop taking my cover!
Look at me.
It was as he was deliberately adjusting his cover so that I would not be able to take it. That was longer than it felt like.
Hey, don't look at me. My job's not damage. I kept everybody alive. That's my job.
Staying alive. Staying alive. Yeah.
Well, I'm always pleased if I get the 20 headshot medal on platinum.
It's like really hard to headshot Dragoons. They move so fast.
And they have wonky hitboxes as well.